Have you ever caught yourself in business following a push energy? Or maybe you felt like there's always something to achieve, always something to do, and always following this should pushing energy. Well, you might have an overdeveloped masculine energy in business. And although, yes, that's how we've been taught, we've generally been trained by society and cultural norms, that's what success looks like and that's what's necessary. What many people are finding is that as we heighten the consciousness of this planet, that's generally going to lead to hard work with very, very little to show for it. And what's now needed is for us to integrate a very healthy divine masculine by strengthening our divine feminine in business. And this is the energy, this is the resources within you around creativity, flow, alignment, more compassion, more empathy, definitely more surrender. This is what's needed not only to have more peace, but also more success and to go further, faster. And that's why we got Pure Blennerhassett here. Prue's the true expert when it comes to helping women package their sacred divine work and package it in a way where you're able to scale with soul by delivering irresistible offers, but also allowing you to shine, allowing you to really not only make more income, but also more impact. So you're going to learn about Prue, you're going to hear from her story, but what you're going to learn in this episode is really how to integrate those two, how to integrate masculine and feminine, and how to use the divine feminine in business. 2, you're going to learn how to align that with an offer, an irresistible offer for your clients. 3, how to really start to embody and receive so that you can feel empowered and you can feel worthy on the business journey. And 4, last but not least, how to stop undercharging and the steps involved with raising your prices so that you can feel good about it and you can also allow your clients to transform on the other side. Let's dive in. Okay, my online family, welcome back to another episode of the Awaken Your Business podcast. We have Prue here, and I know a lot of you have been working on integrating masculine, feminine energies into the world of business, into the world of following your heart. And this is what we're going to talk about here. And the reason why I love this topic is because I've done my work around this. I've worked with my coach about 2 years ago, and she said to me, she gave me this exercise. She said, you know what, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to stay in your feminine. You're going to stay in your feminine because you have this overdeveloped masculine that just wants to do, that just wants to keep making things happen, and your identity is attached to what you do and what you achieve. And now that masculine energy, the wounded warriors in the middle of the field and forgetting why they're there in the first place. And as I started developing my feminine and having a very healthy introduction to it, my masculine started to heal. And so as soon as you, Prue, started saying, you know what, let's talk about divine feminine in business and how we can use that energy in a healthy way to not only charge what we're worth, but to feel empowered, to feel our own value, right? And to really stop the doubt and stop sabotaging our own, you know, how we're undercharging ourselves and being in the space of, you know, devaluing what we do. So I'd love to start this conversation with, first of all, welcoming you, saying hello, welcome to the podcast. It's awesome to have you.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'd love to give you the space to share all about who you are, what you do, and the story of how you got to doing all of what you're into now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tyson. I really appreciate it. And it's been such a pleasure to meet you and get to know your community over the last couple of months. I'm really super grateful that I stumbled, you know, across or got referred to your community. So thank you. Yeah, so my name's Prue Blennerhassett. I'm an intuitive business strategist and women's transformation catalyst. And my business is called Women of Impact. So I guess, you know, like all of us, I've been on a journey for my whole life, really. And I guess I grew up I went to a private girls' school, and my mom was an entrepreneur and my dad was a marketing manager, and he was traveling all over the world all the time. And so I kind of grew up with this absorbing this structure of what success looked like, and that, success and happiness, there was hard work to be successful. And so, it was very much, and, still there is this level of undoing for me in being focused on results, outcomes, achievements, doing, all of that kind of stuff, like my worth actually being closely tied to productivity, rather than just being in this space of I am worthy as I am, just by the nature that I exist, that kind of thing. So that has, that's essentially where I came from, was this real experience of worth relating to doing and productivity. And so I studied, I've got a degree in business banking, finance and international trade from my hometown of Melbourne, and I went from there straight into working with a cosmetic manufacturing company, which was, really kind of fast-paced, high-stressed role, again, really supporting that sense that I had to do things in order to be worthy. It was a perfect match. And, I was traveling all over the world, multi-million-dollar accounts, all that kind of stuff. And at the age of about 27 or 28, I had enough, had enough, because the leaning towards doing and away from being, I was essentially turning away from myself, from my, from my self-care, from my physical, mental, emotional health. I was completely shut down emotionally, from, not just from being able to articulate my emotions, but actually even knowing what they were, feeling them, any of it. And so at that time, about 12, it's about 11, 12 years ago now, I realized that just getting another job in my town wasn't going to cut it. It wasn't going to be a big enough change for me. I really needed like a big shift in terms of my lifestyle to be able to determine who I was and what I actually wanted to do, rather than just following the, the kind of societal expectation or whatever. So I moved up to a little seaside town on the east coast of Australia, a little holiday town called Byron Bay, which is quite well known for being, lifestyle focused. It's very naturally beautiful, and, I really have kind of undertaken this journey since moving up here, not only of going into my own business over that 11 or 12 years, and but also going into relationship, also, reevaluating who I am, my life experience, what I'm here for, my purpose, all of this kind of stuff. So, it's been a real exploration over the last 10, 11, 12 years of coming from this place of being so heavily focused in that sense of worth being derived from productivity, to actually, and that's just kind of one facet of it, but for me it was huge, absolutely huge. And I still catch myself even now being in this space of, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this, rather than just being like, I could, take half an hour for lunch and just, stare at a tree. Like that's valuable too, like that's going to be beneficial for me and everyone else as well. Yeah. So, I guess that's a little bit of kind of the story of who I am and how I got to where I am now. The business, my own business, has been like a journey of that exploration as well, because when I when I started my business, for the first 5 years, I was essentially offering business and marketing services to small businesses. You know, and I was having fun doing it, and I had built a small team, and it was financially successful. But I had essentially recreated and perpetuated that same way of working. So I was working nights and weekends, and, you know, not taking care of myself, not honoring my relationships. You know, my friends and my partner would be like, "You are always working." And I'm like, yeah, you know, internally, subconsciously, because that's what it takes to get ahead. That's what it takes to be successful. So following that, I essentially made a call to dissolve that business after about 5 years, because I recognized that it wasn't something that I wanted to scale. When I was looking at where do I want to go with this business, I was like, oh, you know, I don't actually want to entertain the scaling of this, because how it is now, how it's structured and set up for me, isn't working. So I dissolved that business and created space for the next thing to come forward. And that was my, so my first business was called Of Service. That was the business marketing. Second business, Make Space, Allow Grace. And that was all about supporting women really to feel more empowered and to come into this space of connecting with themselves at a really deep level, and their inner wisdom, their inner calm. And then, you know, the learning that I had from that was that, and the belief that I have, that I think I shared with you before, is that when we're in that space of, you know, really deep connection with ourselves, that we all have something, you know, this incredible, unique, energetic signature that we have to express in the world in whatever way feels resonant for us. And so that was the kind of learning that I had from that. And my understanding then was that once women, because I was working with women in Make Space, Allow Grace, once women had come to that place of recognition within themselves, then they really, you know, and because business is in my blood, they really, if they wanted to craft that out and bring that out into the world in a way that was their soul work, their business, then they would need the support of that first business, that initial business, you know, the marketing, business strategy, all that kind of stuff. And that's how Women of Impact was born, essentially. So I kind of have swung this pendulum from being really heavily in the doing and the go and the force, to really like in the energetics and more in the feminine with Make Space, Allow Grace, to now being in this space of really understanding the value and the power of you know, wavering around the balance of the masculine and the feminine, and the sacred marriage between the two, and really being able to bring those things together. Because just like, you know, we all embody both, and we all need, you know, to be in that space of somewhat balance with masculine and feminine energies. Equally, our businesses are also, you know, this sacred marriage of the energetic and the strategic. You know, we can't succeed just by strategic measures. There's no way. So being able to, you know, really honor that both of these aspects are really, you know, important. And equally, we can't just succeed through energetic. You know, we all wish we could just sit on the lounge and, oh, you know, bring it into being. But it takes both. And it's this beautiful kind of this, you know, this sacred marriage between the two that we have the opportunity to bring forward for our greatest fulfillment, enjoyment, success, etc.
Well, one thing that comes to mind is, did anything in particular happen, or was there any particular moment when you moved from the hard work, hustle, who and what I am is what I do, the working hard is my, you know, is my worthiness? Was there a particular moment, or was there a particular circumstance or a time that you can remember specifically where that started to shift, or you started to awaken to a new level of being?
Yeah, so basically what happened around that time, I was enrolled in Marie Forleo's B School, And, I'm sure, most of you and most of your listeners know her work is all about crafting a business and a life that you love. And so I was taking my then business of service through her program and looking at how I could, up level, scale, all that kind of stuff. And the realization that I came to through that process was not how I wanted to scale the business, but actually that I did not want to scale that business. And the way, what I see now in hindsight is that the way that it wasn't necessarily the business, it was the way that I was working, the way that I was doing things that wasn't serving me or anyone else around me. So I think once I came to that decision, that conclusion, it was kind of like right at that time, one of the clients that I'd been serving wanted me to work with her 3 days a week. And I was like, okay, I can dissolve the business. I can work with you 3 days a week. That's enough to, support me. And then I can leave this space to see what else wants to come forward. And then, the what else wanted to come forward really came through through, kind of channeling and downloading through meditation. So essentially just sitting there and having these, ideas and concepts and words and phrases come through to me, and then from there kind of expanding. So it wasn't like one big thing, but it was like this kind of series of events that culminated to show me the next step.
Yeah, perfect. And when you look back on those times when you were using an overdeveloped masculine, you were attached to certain ways success is meant to look, and you were putting all your importance and worthiness on that, what patterns do you see back then that you also see in your clients now that struggle with those challenges? Maybe it's around how they design their business, maybe it's around how they go about work, maybe it's the way they see success, or see the way their time's meant to be spent. What are the sort of patterns that you see back then in yourself that you also see in your clients now who are struggling with it?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think was probably most pronounced in my own story that I still see happening with some of the women that I work with through their process is this sense of the best, the word that comes to me when I consider my own experience is superficiality. So this sense of, when I went from working, of service, doing the business stuff, and then I was in Make Space, Allow Grace, I was in that business. I was doing all of the things. So it was an energetic, kind of business, but I was doing the things. I created the courses, I developed the meditations, like all of the materials, the sales page, whatever. But really what was lacking was me in that. So what I was kind of crafting felt really good to me, but there was this there's still this sense that I was hiding within that business. So I was coming from this place of, even subconsciously, like I didn't even recognize it, but I was coming from this place of, my life's really cool, like I've got all my shit together, that kind of thing. And, just still feeling really afraid to actually be vulnerable, to be, kind of transparent, that, about the things that weren't necessarily, rad and cool and, awesome in my life. And, I guess that's one of the things that I see at times in the women that come to work with me when they're having challenges around connecting with their soulmate clients. A lot of the time it can be because they're not actually allowing themselves to be seen, truly seen. And yeah, I get it. It's
Yeah,
scary.
it's big. It's big.
It's huge.
It's a big part of business and getting yourself out there. Because one of the things that we know is everyone now is an online, coach, business owner, content creator, course creator, and there's a lot of noise out there with a lot of what you're explaining is like, pretty much superficial type of success or, goals that people are trying to achieve. And what's missing is what you described before is this unique energetic signature of this is who and what I am. This is who and what I'm going through, what I stand for, the types of beliefs I have. And it's with that energy that you get to put out to the world where people, okay, this is Prue, this is what she's doing, this is who and what her energy is, and then coupling that with some strategy, with some tactics and tools that are able to expand that energy. Is that the way you sort of describe it?
And it reminds me of that saying, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And for people to feel something, they need to be able to connect with us.
Yeah.
And that comes through us allowing ourselves to be seen, allowing ourselves to be imperfect, because no human is perfect. And no one wants to, no one wants to be around anyone else who thinks that they are perfect, because that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Well, let's go into this divine feminine, because I know a lot of people who are listening might be caught in that overdeveloped masculine. They might be caught in this pattern of doing or hard work, and it feels out of alignment, and they can sense they're out of balance. But let me ask you to start with, what's your understanding, what's your definition of this divine feminine energy that we all have?
So what this means for me and what I see in my work is that the kind of divine feminine energy that we have access to relates to our spiritual connection. It relates to our sensitivity, to our emotionality, to all of these subtle things, like these intangible parts of us that can't necessarily be seen, can't necessarily be measured, but just like we were talking about before, they are critical to how someone perceives us in a felt body sense, like in an energetic sense. So, when we talk about, holding space for people, when we talk about being really present for people, a lot of those things for me and from my perspective come from this sense of, those kind of unseen, more subtle aspects of our nature that we get to bring to who we are and what we do, the things that really differentiate us. Because, I can be sharing the same strategy that Jane down the street is sharing, but both of us will be sharing from this completely unique space of our energy, of our education, of our experience, of our expertise, all of those kinds of things. But the most unique part of us is our energy. It can't be replicated. So, yeah, so I guess for me, it's again touching in on this sense of really honoring honoring that feminine divinity, honoring all of these things that aren't seen, because the way that our world, just like how I was describing, what I absorbed through osmosis growing up, the way of our world really has been about, in the last many hundred years, has been about honoring what is seen and what is measurable, and what is tactile, what can be held and touched, rather than what is unseen. And so I think the opportunity that we have as humans, as individuals now, is to be able to honor not just what we can see, but what we can't see, to honor the subtlety of what we bring when we are serving others in our space. So when we bring this to the question of worthiness, for a long time, women's worth, because we are, you know, physically not as strong as men, and, you know, things like that. So more of those tangible aspects, you know, we don't necessarily have the capacity to do as much as men in terms of, you know, if there was going to be a really rudimentary kind of scale of productivity or something like that. But, and, you know, this is coming into the kind of, you know, question, not really question, but obviously we all have masculine and feminine aspects. So, you know, when I'm saying men and women, it's not like, you know, specific, but you know what I mean. Where was I going?
Well, let me ask you this: in terms of how do you or your clients know when they're in their divine feminine? What does it feel like? What does their life look like? What is it? How does it designed? How do people know? If someone's listening right now, how would they know when they're in their divine feminine? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What is their business doing?
Yeah. So I feel like rather than just being in their divine feminine, it feels like being in that balance. So when they are in their divine feminine, we're in this space of, it feels like flow. So there's the inspiration that comes through. There's the intuition that we're using, not just in crafting, you know, our content and our marketing, our messaging, all of that kind of stuff, what people really need to hear. But equally, when we're serving our clients, we're really allowing that divine channel to be open and flowing through so that we're serving from that space. When we've got that space of balanced masculine and feminine in our business, then there is that flow, there is that magnetism. We're allowing ourselves to be seen. So our soulmate clients, those who are really feeling to be served by us, can see us, are attracted to us, and, you know, want to find out more about what we're doing and how they can work with us, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, there is flow in terms of energy, there's flow in terms of finances, all of that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, really this sense of ease and flow. And, you know, just as words, they can sound quite, you know, ambiguous and floaty, but truly in the felt sense, that is what it feels like, being in that space.
Awesome. And then what would you say to someone who's like, oh my God, I get that. I want to be more in flow. I want to have more alignment. I want to attract my soulmate clients, but I need to do this marketing. I need to put this out there that doesn't feel aligned. And I need to do this work and put this out there and, you know, do all these things to build the business that I don't necessarily enjoy. What would you say to that person?
So it has to, the foundation has to be aligned. So there may be aspects of, you know, marketing and bits and pieces and, you know, like creating sales pages and, you know, email automations and all that kind of stuff that, you know, I know for a lot of us, it's like, oh, tech, you know, can someone else do that? But the absolute foundation and the crux of it has to be that what we are crafting in terms of an offering for people, what it is that we stand for, what our potent message is that we're here to share with the world, all of those things have to be incredibly aligned. Like, it's almost like, you know, a piece of the puzzle just fits in to our field when we are in this place of alignment with our offer, with our messaging, with what we stand for. Because once we're really clear about what we're offering, then the marketing that we're doing, whatever methods we're utilizing, the content that we're wanting to share to invite people to find out more about it, it's all coming from this place of a really deep understanding of what I like to call our zone of divinity, which is what we craft our offering on, right? It's the transformation that we're best positioned to facilitate for our soulmate clients, for those that we really want to serve at the deepest level. So when we have clarity around that, we know who we're serving, we know what's really going on for them, we understand ourselves really deeply, and we understand this zone of divinity, this transformation we want to facilitate. And everything comes from there. The messaging, the marketing, the what it's going to look like. And it's exciting. You know, it's not just like I have to do this because I want to, you know, earn money and have people work with me. It's like, this really matters. You know, it's coming from this space of this really matters. And this is what I'm here to share with the world. So it almost becomes this, you know, kind of sense of soul mission that, you know, even if no one decided to come and work with me because of this, I don't care, because this is what I need to share. It's like the onus and the leaning comes more to us, and what is it that I need to express to get to my next level of expansion, rather than, you know, what do I need to do to bring the clients in.
And I think there's a separation of outcome there. There's a detachment to the outcome when you're saying, this is on my heart. It's my mission. It's my calling. It's something that I feel like is flowing through me. Therefore, it's not something that says, I need to get this right so that I can get clients and attract money so that I can pay my bills. That's where I find a lot of people's focus is, and that's where their intention is. Their intention is like, I have this gift. Okay, how do I package it and serve it in a way where I'm able to make money so that I can pay my bills? What you're saying here is everything falls in alignment in terms of your offer, your messaging, your marketing. It can be exciting, especially when it's coming from a space that's your heart's calling, that's your soul's mission, that you're sharing it, not because of the outcome of what it leads to, but sharing it because it's what you feel called to share. There's no other real need. There's no other real, you know, there's no reason why you should do anything else. It's like, I'm sharing this because it's what I'm here to share. And everything else falls into alignment when it's part of this soul's mission. Okay?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, where does that come into it when you're talking about worthiness? When someone's packaging their business, they're putting things out there on social media, they're having people sign up for certain courses, sessions, programs, but they at some level know that they're undercharging, that they're not charging their worth. What do you think's happening there?
So this is pretty much like most of the population is having this experience. So most of the people that I work with are in a space of undercharging, absolutely, overgiving, you know, not truly valuing their sacred work and what they have to offer the world. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that, especially when it comes to women. You know, I work with women, so this is where I see this. And we touched on this earlier around, you know, this sense of women's worth, you know, these kind of feminine divine aspects being very subtle, being very intangible. So they're not necessarily the way that the existing or former paradigm of business and of our world has shown us in terms of what is value. Right. So we have essentially, you know, through, I say osmosis, I'm sure there's probably a better word for it, but through osmosis, have like absorbed this sense of what worth is in the world, and having that be connected to productivity, to tangible, to the things that we can see, all of that kind of stuff. So when you consider that we have been trained to not see the value in the unseen, and that so much of what we offer, especially as women, is in that nature of the unseen, is in the sensitivity, is in the emotionality, is in the intuition, is in all of these things. then it's really about coming to the understanding of how much of that we bring forward and how powerful those aspects are, how powerful our energy is in what we bring forward in terms of our sacred work. And then to really be in this space of honoring that, honoring the transformation that we facilitate for those that we serve. So, you know, one of the things that I love to share with women in my community is to put together, you know, a bit of a document that can that they can refer back to, that's basically either, you know, testimonials from clients or case studies that they've written up themselves of the kind of transformational experiences those that they've worked with have had. And so to really be able to tap in and tune into that, because it's so easy for us as humans to kind of experience what is familiar and have contempt for it. So especially in relation to, you know, ourselves and our own gifts and skills, it's kind of like, oh, well, you know, if I can do it, everyone can do it, that kind of experience. But that's not true. That's not the case. And even if someone else can do it, they can't do it in the same way that we can do it. So it's really about kind of coming back to this appreciation for what it is that we have to offer, to honor our whole selves in doing that. And the other piece of this as well, like that's where we start from. The other piece of this as well is that I teach women to craft an offering that is essentially a way that they will be holding their soulmate client through a transformative process. So it's creating like this sacred container where they'll be holding space for their soulmate client's transformation. So it's not just, you know, work with me for, you know, 6 single sessions over whatever period of time or whatever. It's a very deliberate and intentional container of transformation that has been designed specifically for that transformation to be achieved for that client. So when that client steps in, you know, we invest in what we value. So when a client steps in, and as an example, say there's a 2-month program, and, you know, it's one person's charging $500 for it, one person's charging $5,000 for it. You know, if I step into that $500 program, if for whatever reason, you know, I can't kind of make it work or whatever, I'm going to be like, it's $500, you know, yeah, it's a bit of money, but it's not the end of the world. If I pay $5,000 for something, I am there. I'm showing up, I'm doing the work, I'm all in on receiving that transformation that I've invested in, because of the price that's associated with it as well. So the foundational aspect comes from us and owning our worth. And there's also this aspect of understanding that people will get greater results from what they invest in, from what they value. So it's this sense of intentionality that comes through investment. So marrying these two things together, really, really powerful in us owning the value of our sacred work.
It gives us a good reminder that the transformation is in the transaction. It's like by offering a higher price, by offering a higher investment, you're offering them a higher transformation and giving their commitment and their energy towards this transformation. And so when you're offering something like that, you not only get to watch their transformation, but you get to help someone who's more committed, which is obviously going to drive you. Like if someone jumps into my program and I'm charging $20 compared to if I'm charging $20,000, like me and myself, I'm like, this person's committed. I'm committed. I'm going to do everything I can, right, to help them with this transformation because they're so dedicated towards it.
Yeah.
So what would you think some of the action steps are? What would you recommend for clients if someone isn't charging what they're worth and like, okay, I'm committed now to charging a higher amount that I feel good about, that aids my client's transformation? What's that process look like? Is it as simple as just putting the prices higher on your website and saying this is what I charge now, or is there a process to that? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit earlier about that zone of divinity aspect. So getting that real clarity about who you are, what you have to bring forward, like everything that's available to you, not just what you currently know about or are thinking about. Because there's almost every single person that I meet with, that I work with, anything like that, there are hidden gifts that are incredibly valuable to the people that they're serving that they have discounted in some way. And so aren't bringing forward. But coming back to your question, so getting absolute clarity around who you want to serve, around what you have to bring forward, and therefore what that zone of divinity is, the transformation that you're best positioned to facilitate for your soulmate clients, and then coming into this space of crafting an offering that is literally, soaking with the transformative possibility for your soulmate client. So everything that's in there is on purpose. There's nothing that is like, there's no fluff. There's nothing that is like, oh, that might be nice. It's like, what is going to get this client the greatest level of transformation possible? So from the time frame to the price to the to the modalities that are used, to every single aspect in there. And then it's about really being, standing in the power of that value, of the value of that sacred work, and, sharing it and shamelessly selling it.
What would you say to someone who says, I don't feel right charging for my divine services, for my divine work? If it's grace flowing through me, if it's me creating these, creating the work for the sacred, what would you say to those who don't feel comfortable charging for that type of work?
If they don't want to, they don't have to.
Simple as that.
If they're happy with their current life experience and they don't need for anything, then they can do whatever they want. I'm not here to make anyone do anything they don't want to do. But one of the things that does come up often, and I thought you were going to ask this, so I'll share it with you. A lot of people say to me, what about the people in my community who can't afford these higher prices? And it's a really valid question, because we've all got these communities and we want to be of service, and it's like, how if we're going to put our prices up, what about the people who can't afford that? And the fact is that what I have seen in my own experience, and what I've seen for my clients as well, is that when we kind of up level what we're doing and we offer something that is in the higher end, we will attract people to come and work with us there. But what that also allows, because we're no longer working at this kind of lower level of income, it means that we are essentially buying ourselves time. So by charging a higher rate, we free up our time and our space and our energy, which allows us to be able to be of value in other ways to the rest of our community who may not necessarily be able to afford it. So it's basically a way to support us to grow and scale our business, to develop ourselves, to feel really fulfilled by the sacred work that we're doing, and to then be able to support more and more people within our community to experience a level of transformation through what we teach.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a great way to look at it. If you're charging higher prices, you're buying yourself back more time, where you can add more value to those who can't afford it in more creative ways.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. One thing that comes to me as well is the question around if someone's charging a certain amount and they're looking to increase their prices, what do they do to the people who are currently paying a certain amount, and let's say they're ongoing sessions, or if it's a certain amount that they're already in the program for, is is elevating your prices, you know, are there certain steps in which people can create that, or do you keep the price for a certain amount? What advice would you give there?
Yeah, so there's always going to be like a transition phase. So if it's kind of different if you're already running a program or if you're doing one-on-one kind of sessions. But if you're doing one-on-one sessions, then you have a choice and you can kind of set a bit of a timeline for yourself. So it might be, you know, in 3 months' time, I'm going to switch over to this new pricing or this new offering, this new way of working with me. And in 1 month's time, I'll let those people know that that's what's happening. And if they want to come across, then I might offer them, you know, a bit of a, you know, an incentive to do so because they've been such loyal clients, you know, that kind of thing. In terms of if it's like a group program or, you know, something like that, then, and you're wanting to put that price up and up level that, then kind of the same thing. If it's the same program, then you can keep the existing clients as essentially like founding members as you then go on to launch that program at a higher level for others. Or if you're changing the program significantly, then you can do similar to what I just shared in terms of that transition and going, hey, so excited, new, you know, changes coming, new changes afoot, all coming, you know, love to have you continue on the journey with me, XYZ. Here it is. What do you think?
Okay, great. I'm gonna ask this question. I know it comes up for a lot of people, and it might be tough to answer this as a podcast, but maybe you can give some guidance. Maybe you can give some general.
I'll try.
or maybe share an example or two. But when someone says, "I just don't know what to charge," I want to charge something that's good for me. I want to charge something that's aligned, but I'm doing this particular work, and this is my particular avatar. How do I know what to charge? How do I know what would be benefit to everyone involved? Are there any sort of certain guidance or certain principles or certain tips that you might give for someone who's asking that question?
Yeah, so pricing is something that is it's quite individual, I guess, based on someone's specific experience. Like obviously it depends on how long they've been doing what they've been doing for and stuff like that. But equally, the standalone thing for pricing is that it needs to feel like a stretch, but not too far out of alignment that you can't energetically hold it.
Okay.
And feel confident presenting it. So it will depend on how long the program is, what's in it, the experience, all of that kind of stuff. But in every single field, there are people out there who are charging 5, 10, 20, 50, 100K for programs in almost every single field. So, you know, the limit with which we place on what we're able to charge is largely existing within us.
Mm-hmm. Great. So it's really just a matter of looking in and saying, okay, what feels aligned, but what feels expansive, what feels a stretch, but in a way in which I can still hold that and present it in a way that's confident, presented in a way that I, you know, still projects certainty.
Yes.
Also feels energetically expansive for me as well.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Spot on.
Okay, awesome. I get it. Before we wrap up here, this has been an awesome chat because anytime we can link things like pricing, worthiness, value with divine feminine and feeling like this is your energetic signature that you're putting out there that people are feeling in your marketing, I think it benefits a lot of people. So even just shift the way they're thinking or shift the way they're pivoting in ways that they're doing something at the moment. But what else comes through? What other advice would you give someone who's just looking to energetically feel more aligned with themselves, feel more harmony with their masculine and feminine? Any other tips or any other things in terms of advice that, you know, you've seen work well with your clients?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my answer for this is probably pretty simple. And it's what works for me. And that is to be in nature. to be barefoot, to be lying on the grass staring at the trees or the clouds, to be barefoot on the earth or in the sand, to be swimming in the ocean. It really doesn't matter what or where it is, what elements are involved. But for me, that supports me to regulate my nervous system, to kind of dissolve the electromagnetic, I don't know, the kind of what we pick up from technology, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Essentially, it supports me to come back to my to nature and to my own essential nature. And I think the truth of who we are is this state of balance, and this wavering around balance, not as a fixed point, but we are far more balanced when we're in this space of connection with nature and with ourselves and things like that. And to me, that's where truth lies. That's where all the answers are.
Wow. I truly feel that when there's been so many times when I'm in my office here, I'm on the computer for a few hours straight, I'm sending messages back and forth, I'm writing up a piece of content, I'm you know, thinking about how I'm going to organize this event or whatever, and I'm writing up a piece of copy, and then my mind clearly goes into this pattern of the way it should be and the way that it's not yet. I need to fix this, I need to fix that. And I'm just like, my God, I'm going to go out in the back. And so I go out in the backyard, I put my feet on the ground, barefoot, I look at the sky, I feel the wind, I look at this tree, and, you know, all of a sudden, it's exactly what you said. Something innate in me comes back to balance, comes back to truth, comes back to, oh, that's not life, this is life. That's the illusion, that's the thing my mind gets stuck in, which is just as beautiful, but this is a deeper level of truth. This is a deeper level of what we're really here for. It's a reminder that we're all here to serve and contribute as nature does. And there's an ebb and flow to life. There's a harmony that exists beneath everything. Everything's just fine the way it is. And then I just take some breaths and I go back in and I start working again from a completely different energy. And it's, I truly believe that nature is medicine. And if you can do that more often, take some breaths of some fresh air and allow it to just sink into your body, there's some real magic there, hey?
Yeah, and I think what's remarkable is that when we take action from that place, we get further faster. So it's kind of like this, you know, catch-22, where we feel like we've got to keep doing stuff, so we avoid doing the connectivity. But if we do the connectivity, we're much better at the stuff that we want to do anyway. You know, like I'm not saying that I have this nailed, like this is something that I have to remind myself of every single day.
Yeah, totally. That's why I meditate so much. It's just like the reminders. I need it more than anyone. It's the reminders that, you know, the way our mind thinks it should be, the way our ego thinks the world needs to be, so that we can achieve this, so that we can feel this way. And then when you realize, oh, when I connect with me and when I'm whole and when I'm not only tapped into my energy, but I'm operating from effortless action because it's aligned, it's exciting, it's fun, then things happen. The ways your mind could have never seen happen. And you're just operating from an energy that goes so much bigger than your mind. And it's a great reminder, hey, that's the real way. I find the real way to build business in a way that is fun, in a way that you can do your marketing. Like you're saying, you can create offers, you can charge, you can serve from a place that's one of wholeness and one of a healthy balance.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, it's definitely possible. So let me ask you, how can people find out more about you? I know you have this event coming up that's all about helping people scale if they're looking to get to that point in their business. I'd love to hear all about it and how people can get a hold of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tyson. So later this month in August on the 26th, we've got an event, which is a 2-hour masterclass from 4 till 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. There'll be a recording as well for anyone who can't make it live, but for anyone who's interested in that, they can come to www.womenofimpact.com.au/masterclass and sign up for that directly. Equally, we have incredible 4-day free retreats, 4 and 7 day free retreats, which happen, the next one will be in, September. So in a little bit of time. And they can connect in with that at womenofimpact.com.au/retreat. And all of these events are just, like we were talking about, that sense of being able to offer and support community at different levels. And all of these that I've just shared are exactly that. So, incredible opportunity to come and connect with like-minded women and to be really in this space of deep connection with self, with soulmate clients, with community, and with serving and scaling, really, to honor ourselves and those around us as well.
Beautiful. Awesome. So I'll put all the links below in the show notes and in the description so people can check that out. Is there anything else you feel called to share? Anything else you feel called to make known, or anything that you think would make this conversation feel complete?
Just that, everything that you need essentially is inside of you already. Everything that we need is essentially inside of us already. And that, there's a lot of cray happening out there at the moment. Yeah, just a smidge. And it's really easy to get caught up in it. Holy moly. But, just like we were talking about before with, the simplicity of, connecting to nature, like literally just sitting on the ground or standing, it's a total salve, like even 5 minutes, if anyone is finding themselves off kilter, like not okay, of course, reach out to loved ones, but equally, I would love to encourage everyone and myself to, spend 5 minutes out in nature, and as often as possible throughout the day, because, she's got all the answers. We've got all the answers. It's all good. We're going to get there. It's just, a bit cray out there at the moment. So, just sending everyone lots of love, and, look forward to connecting with some of the people who are listening to this podcast.
Great. And I really encourage everyone to reach out and to build relationships, see what Prue has to offer in terms of her retreats and this masterclass. There's always things you can learn, always different people you can meet, energies you can introduce into your own business, your own marketing, and your own life. So Prue, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome. There's so many takeaways for people to grab. And so hopefully they've taken not only plenty of notes, but looking to implement what we've learned here. So thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your wisdom.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Tyson.